by combining and eliminating updated and outdated licenses. This new approach will cut the number of business licenses from nearly 120 to 150. This is just one example of an employer and employment-friendly, common-sense business reform. With this leadership by NATO, this amazing team showcased Chicago as the world-class city that it is. We have a special connection to this effort as Lori Ely, ex-board member and friend of the Alliance, was at the mayor's site helping to make sure that everything ran smoothly. Mayor Emanuel's willingness to personally engage in the legislative process in Springfield has offered influence and experience to the city of Chicago's agenda. From schools, public safety, to economic development, we are all supportive of his leadership and tireless pursuit of a better Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce the great mayor of our great city, Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
Never thought I said that would ever say this working in the Obama administration. I'm here to talk about health care. Before I used to be all black, 6'2", 250 pounds. After the health care fight, I was 148, dripping wet. Before I start, let me, if I can, recognize a number of the aldermen that are here. Alderman Danny Solis, Alderman Scott Wagersbach, Alderman Tom Tunney, Alderman John Arena, and Alderman Moore. If they could stand for a second, I'd like to, if I could. Just for the record, if you were in favor of the POP proposal, it was Danny Solis' idea. If you were against the POP proposal, it was Danny Solis' idea. The other person I would also like, if I can take 1 second, is recognize Senate President John Cullen. If I can, 3 quick things. John is a dear friend of mine, let alone as a colleague. Second is, I want you to be sensitive to him. This was actually the room he got married in back in 1979. He's having some flashbacks. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. So be sensitive. I do want to, look, a lot of time everybody takes cheap shots, and sometimes appropriate shots at Springfield. Everything that we have done, whether it's on education reform, workers' comp, the DREAM Act for the state of Illinois, because John Cullen has shown the leadership to move his caucus to do that. And as somebody who is sensitive to politics, I appreciate, I mean that in a positive sense. He has shown the leadership that's important to get things done, and I say that because he's also a friend, but also he has shown the type of leadership that's necessary. I thank you for your leadership. And I do want to, when I was a congressman, I represented this area. Former Senator Jimmy DeLeo is also here. I will take one note. Since the word former, his can has gotten much better. Let me say, I do actually want to, I had a prepared text. I do want to actually, because today is a historic day. I mean, I did talk to the president where I live, but I do want to say, I don't want to get political. I don't want to get partisan, but I've taken my medication before I got up there. But I want to make one note about this from a different take than people do. I don't want to go through, the individual mandate and all. I'll leave that to others. I lived it too long. This may be John's room where he remembers his marriage. I can't go back there. It's too recent for me, the healthcare fight. But I want to say something because what's normally said about politics is people don't show leadership, they don't make the tough decisions, nothing ever gets done. You're present on a day in which a 60-year debate ended. You may not agree with it, and it's the Illinois manufacturers, as part of small manufacturers. I basically assume a lot of people don't agree with that. But a 60-year debate got done. Now, you're looking at a guy who told the president, it's well done, go smaller, get it done. Don't spend everything else you want to do, you can't do. As I told him today, congratulations for ignoring me. You, like my wife Amy, do a very good job of it. And we have, but seriously, I want you to look at three things. The auto industry, Osama bin Laden, and healthcare. Every piece of conventional wisdom that was given to the President of the United States said, do the other thing. The CIA director, the head of the Defense Department, the Vice President of the United States, both President, do not go in there. There's not enough information. You couldn't even get a search warrant based on the facts the CIA provided the President. Osama bin Laden, after 10 years, is history. A lot of people thought on the auto industry, there's some people related to the industry here, let it go bankrupt. In fact, if you go back and look at what Steve Ratner and the quote-unquote auto team recommended to the president, it's like Chrysler code, that's the best advice you can give for GM. They had paid back what they owed the taxpayers in the city of Chicago and in Belvedere. The city of Chicago, Ford was not a recipient. You know and I know, the industry went bankrupt. Ford was going with it. They were going to take over the cliff. They added a third shift to that operation. 1,200 people, 700 over at the plant, over on the stamping plant on the other side of the street. Belvedere was 200, it's 4,000 today. Ohio's unemployment went from 9.7 to 7.2 because he said no to conventional wisdom. And on healthcare, I know a lot of 24-year-olds who are sitting in their parents' home post-college who have healthcare today. I know a lot of people with pre-existing conditions who just breathe a little easier. And most importantly, for the first time in 3 decades, and I say this as a person who told the president, remember, don't do this. If you do it smaller. Get it over with. You got a lot of other things. Healthcare inflation was 3.9% this year. For the first time tracking regular inflation. For the first time in 3 decades. And every one of the, I can go through the benefits, I'm not going to do that. But in every place, he showed the type of leadership that was, regardless of politics, what he believed was right. You can argue out the merits of whether it was right or not. There'll be plenty of that discussion. That part of this bill won't end. And it will need, parts of healthcare will still need to be worked. But he has shown in 3 years consistency in using his presidency to advance this country. Whether it was on the National Security Fund, whether it was with the manufacturing foundation, you cannot think of manufacturing in this country without the auto industry. And outside of the auto industry, every independent report says it saved 1.2 million manufacturing jobs. All right, I'm done. I feel better. Thank you for the message. He is the ultimate three-point shooter with a second left on that clock. Let me try to go a couple things that I think are important. Okay? One is, I don't, which is new in Chicago, I don't create jobs. I create the conditions in the private sector to create jobs. That's number one. So when people say, what are the jobs here? I don't create jobs. I'm proud today, Federal Savings Bank is the 4th headquarters moving from Kansas City to the city of Chicago. We announced it this morning. 400 jobs in the city of Chicago. It's our 4th headquarters. As you know, about 2 weeks ago, GE Transportation, their international headquarters, is leaving Erie, Pennsylvania, coming to the city of Chicago, reaffirming Chicago's leadership in the area of transportation, distribution, logistics. TK, ThyssenKrupp from Germany, their North American headquarters, city of Chicago. It's the 28th company I've announced that is either moving, expanding, or creating jobs, with over 21,000 jobs in the first 14 months of my administration. But they all pick Chicago for the same reason, one way or another. We have a highly trained and educated workforce. And we have the type of infrastructure, either by our airport, our cargo facilities, our intermodal capacity, our broadband, our mass transit system, that we have the critical infrastructure up to speed. Both with physical infrastructure or human infrastructure, we are making the critical investments. And I